The doers are the major thinkers. The people that really create the things that change this industry are both the doer and thinker in one person. What's going on, everybody? Big Trucker B. Today we're going to talk about the industry in general. And just before you click off this video, just hear me out. So lately, as you all know, there's been protests all over with every type of industry. Truck driving is starting to stand out a little bit more though, with increase in fuel tax in Ohio, or the ELD mandate that's happened, which I'm starting to see a lot of people start to get more used to it. And then you get all these groups, all these people that you want them to come together because we all have the same mindset that we want something to change in this industry. But how do we achieve change? How do we succeed when the industry is always divided? You always got, in one hand, you got a truck driver or a group of truck drivers on one side saying, oh, well, I make this much. Oh, well, I'm happy with the rules and regulations. I'm good with this. Then you go out the other side saying, well, sure, I'm making this much, or I'm making more or making less. I don't agree with the rules and regulations. They need to be changed. Kind of like liberals and conservatives. Liberals are all about progressive ideas. Conservatives are about the ideas that we have now. But in the future, no matter what side you're on, progress always comes ahead. And it's taken me a long time to really accept that. No matter what we do in this industry, we're always going to be progressing to a future of electronics, and autonomous self-driving vehicles, computers, So do we embrace it, or do we just fight it, or do we just drive on in our trucking industry until we accept it? I can't really say that I agree with how things are today, but if we can somehow find a way to come together, we probably won't be able to change the past. We might not even be able to change what's happening now, but we can definitely come up with an agreement to change the future. You guys are probably wondering, well, duh, that's kind of what every day, it's a new day, it's changing it. But if you're trying to go back to the past of older laws or older regulations, what is that really accomplishing? I have always loved the old school way of driving. Just like I love flatbed, just like I love listening to the CB radio at night, all the people talking shit, just little things in this industry just kind of make me laugh, but I love it. It's part of who we are as people and as those drivers. I know this isn't one of my upbeat videos, but every day I'm seeing protests of drivers who make up a very little percentage. And then one thing that really saddens me about all this is there are those people who support it and those people who don't support it. But when they mock these certain drivers because they only make up, 0.03% of the industry or whatever, you're pretty much flushing out the tone of somebody's voice. Somebody else has a passion for this job. Somebody just wants things to go back to the way they were, or they want better for the future. And like I said, we're always trying to look forward to the future. When you have drivers boasting how much money they have in their wallet how much money they make each week. It seems like there's always a competition between us. There's always that rule of you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about church, and you shouldn't really talk about the money you make. Now, if you're recruiting a driver to your company, okay, I get it, but you're not going to change an owner-operator's mind. No one's going to drop their truck and be like, all right, I'm going to become a company driver. Now, if they're forced to because of bad, choices of their business management and they had to, well, that's on them. But I'm getting off subject here. Let me go back to the beginning. Somehow, some way, there needs to be a unification between everybody. But instead of creating all these lists of things we need to change, we need to find one thing that we can find a common ground for that everybody can agree with. And you're telling me, well, that's not going to happen. And you're probably right. So let me just put it out there. The ELD is not the problem, right? Is that something we can all agree on? Put the disagreements in the bottom. Now let me ask you this. If the ELD is not the problem, what about the hours of service? Okay. So the hours of service have been an issue for a while. I feel that apparently there was it was way before I was truck driving, guys, so please forgive me. But not too long ago, apparently the hours of service, there was no 30-minute break, and I think there was a 15-hour day. Like I said, guys, it was before my time, so I apologize for getting it wrong. So you find that platform where everybody can agree on something. Then we take that disagreement thing I told you about, the ELDs. If somehow we can just connect them and say, okay, we'll take the ELDs, but you have to change the hours of service. Fine. Or vice versa, which is a little bit harder. Get rid of the ELDs, keep the hours of service. Somehow we have to come together to agree to disagree on certain things in this industry. That was just a little example, but there's so much more. What do you do when you got social media and everybody just sending hate comments or everybody sending positive comments to certain groups, like, for instance, Black Smoke Matters? I understand the premise of what they're trying to do. Not a lot of people do, but I see where they're going with it. There's other groups like ELD or Me, and there was one other group, and I forgot. But what did that lead to? That led to protests in Washington twice. That led to a giant protest in California. Now, that wasn't involved in those two groups. That was involving Mike Gunny. But there needs to be a certain way that we could just quit being so ignorant, come together, and then maybe, just maybe, the FMCSA, the ATA, will start to agree with us, or they'll start to work with us. If we go along just starting all these protests, pretty soon it's gonna stop, because we're just so, drivers are gonna start getting bored of doing it. There's gonna be drivers that aren't gonna be making no more money because that's all they're doing is doing protests. Or there's gonna be drivers making money from these protests because there's not many drivers on the road, but there's other drivers out there that don't even give a damn what anybody thinks. They're making their money, they're out to run hard, and they don't care about the rules and regulations. Truck driving is one of the most overly regulated jobs in the industry, and the protests, I appreciate them, and I think other people should appreciate the thought of them, but at some point it's gonna, and I hate to say it's gonna die down. It's gonna go to a point of boredom. What's gonna happen April 12th? What's gonna happen after April 12th? I've been seeing protests in Ohio, Texas, Indiana. I heard there was supposed to be one in Arizona. But as a lot of other YouTubers and a lot of drivers point out, these protests are only a fraction of how many drivers are out there. There needs to be an elected set of truckers, truck drivers, that have over a certain amount of experience, that have done pretty much everything when it comes to trucking or close to it, whether it be flatbed, van, which it all includes the experience, that might even have a clean record, a clean, just a quick, you know, there needs to be an elected official for trucking. There needs to be, what I think they should do, excuse me, what I think they should do, personally, is take a poll of all the drivers that you think should be kind of a head representative. Alright, because right now everything's just kind of a mess. Now, on that poll, get votes out. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, presidential or pins or, you know, stuff that's gonna cost a lot of money, but I'm talking about that one driver who gets out, talks to other drivers at the truck stop instead of just sitting in his truck all day. That one driver that goes to some truck shows. That one driver that's known. That one driver that has a voice and an upbeat personality and knowledge for the industry that we live in, or that we work in. So, you elect this one driver. Maybe you elect 2 or 3. Now you got a leader. Now you got somebody as a face for the trucking industry. And we keep him, and we all know him, whoever it's going to be. We send that driver representative, the ambassador, like a trucking ambassador, to maybe the OOIDA for meetings, maybe the ATA, maybe the FMCSA. Maybe. And maybe he's the one that helps get these meetings, create petitions, and maybe be a voice for certain laws. Thus creating a platform for our voice. Now, boom. Hope. Hopefully. And I know it may sound kind of dumb. It was just an idea that kind of came through my head. Because I know technically the OOIDA was supposed to be that voice, and they are. They've done a lot. You know, they help us out a lot, but they're getting to that corporate kind of scale now too. We need an independent driver or a couple drivers, not multiple. I don't even think they should have a group, because in a group everybody just posts, starts conflict, and creates more separation. But they should have a page. They should have on their Facebook page, they should have a schedule of where the meetings are going to be, and maybe updates on how everything went. Maybe even do videos of it if they can. But I don't know. What's your guys' ideas? Do you think the trucking industry could ever come together as one? Or do you think it's always just going to be, you know, separated from red to blue side? Who knows? Only the future will tell. Time will tell. But with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night. There is going to be a snowstorm blowing through here, or supposed to be a blizzard actually. No, snowstorm, whatever. Coming through Minnesota, at least in Iowa. So be safe out there. And as usual, Big Trucker B out.